Hello everyone. Welcome back to Ghostly Encounters. Before we get into the stories, you should first grab some delicious snacks and a cozy blanket to get the full experience of the following stories. Story number 1.
The desolate classroom. I remember that fateful day like it was yesterday. The school was abuzz with its usual energy and excitement. Little did we know that our lives were about to be plunged into a terrifying nightmare. It started during third period, just after lunch. The intercom crackled to life, and the principal's voice, tinged with worry, echoed through the hallways. "Lockdown, lockdown," he announced. "This is not a drill. Teachers, secure your classrooms immediately." Panic seized the air as teachers hurriedly herded students into their designated safe spaces. My classmates and I stumbled into our classroom, our hearts pounding against our chests. The door was locked, the blinds drawn shut, shutting out the world and plunging us into darkness. Silence engulfed the room, broken only by the sound of our anxious breaths. Outside, the once vibrant school transformed into an eerie silence. It felt as if we were trapped in a desolate, forgotten place, cut off from the world. We huddled together, seeking solace in each other's presence, but fear clung to our minds like a persistent shadow. Whispers spread, fueled by wild rumors of a dangerous intruder lurking within the school's walls. Dread coiled in our stomachs, amplifying the fear that consumed us. Hours stretched on, and the confinement of the classroom became suffocating. The absence of daylight seeped into our souls, feeding our growing sense of unease. We could hear distant footsteps echoing through the hallways, each sound amplifying our paranoia. The intercom crackled to life again, startling us from our anxious thoughts. It was the principal's voice, but this time it trembled with a hint of fear. "There is an armed individual on the premises," he warned. "Please remain calm and stay hidden. Help is on its way." A collective gasp swept through the room. The air grew thick with tension as we realized the magnitude of the danger we faced. We clung to hope, praying that help would arrive in time, that we would survive this horrifying ordeal. Outside our sanctuary, chaos erupted. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer with each passing moment. The sound of muffled voices and urgent footsteps intensified, mingling with our own pounding hearts.
Suddenly, the silence in our classroom shattered. The doorknob rattled violently, followed by a loud bang. Terror surged through our veins as we realized that the intruder was just outside our door, desperate to breach our safe haven. We cowered in the farthest corner of the room, trembling in fear. Time seemed to slow down as the door splintered under the weight of the intruder's force. With bated breath, we prepared ourselves for the worst, our minds consumed by thoughts of survival. But as the door swung open, our fear turned to confusion. Instead of a menacing figure, we were met with a police officer, his eyes filled with concern and relief. The danger had passed and we were finally safe. As we emerged from our hiding place, we surveyed the scene. The broken door, the chaos that had enveloped our once peaceful classroom. Our minds were scarred by the trauma, forever etched with the horrors we had endured. In the days and weeks that followed, life slowly returned to normal. But the scars remained, a constant reminder of the fragility of our existence. The lockdown had shattered our innocence, replaced with a haunting awareness of the darkness that lurks in unexpected places. The memory of that day still haunts me, a reminder of the darkness that can permeate even the most ordinary of settings. And as I walk through the hallways, I can't help but glance over my shoulder, knowing that safety can never be taken for granted. Story number 2. It was the year 2022, and the world was in the grip of a relentless pandemic that brought fear and uncertainty to every corner of the globe. Governments had enforced strict lockdown measures, confining people to their homes and cutting off the threads of social connection that once held communities together. In our small town, a sense of isolation hung heavy in the air, as the once bustling streets now stood deserted, and the laughter of children playing in parks was replaced by an eerie silence. In the midst of this desolation, there stood an old, decrepit house known as Isolation House. Legends and rumors surrounded its dilapidated walls, tales of unspeakable horrors that lurked within its shadows. Whispers traveled from one fearful neighbor to another, recounting stories of apparitions that walked its halls and chilling screams that pierced the stillness of the night. Curiosity mingled with trepidation, and despite the warnings, my friends David, Sarah, Mark, Lisa, Emily, and I found ourselves unable to resist the magnetic pull of the house's dark allure. One gloomy evening, as the sun cast its final rays before surrendering to the encroaching darkness, we gathered outside Isolation House. Armed with nothing more than a handful of flashlights and the brimming excitement of an ill-advised adventure, we took a collective breath and stepped across its threshold. The door moaned in protest, its rusty hinges echoing through the desolate silence as if foretelling the ominous fate that awaited us inside. The air within the house was thick with an indistinguishable mustiness that clung to our senses, sending shivers down our spines. Dust particles danced in the beams of our flashlights, casting ethereal shadows upon the peeling wallpaper and creaking floorboards. The house seemed frozen in time, trapped between the echoes of its past and the present reality of its forsaken existence. We moved cautiously through the first floor, our footsteps muffled by the weight of anticipation that hung in the stale air. The rooms whispered secrets of forgotten lives, their once vibrant colors now faded to a muted palette of melancholy. Our hearts pounded in our chests, attuned to the pulsating energy that seemed to emanate from the very foundation of the house. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, we descended into the depths of the basement. The stairs groaned beneath our weight, protesting our intrusion into the house's most hidden realm. Our flashlights pierced the darkness, revealing ancient cobwebs that clung to the walls like spectral tapestries, and cryptic symbols etched into the decaying concrete, their meaning lost to the passage of time. The air grew colder, as if the darkness itself possessed a malevolent chill that seeped into our bones. Suddenly, without warning, the heavy door leading to the basement slammed shut, the reverberation echoing through the narrow stairwell. Panic surged through our veins, and a suffocating dread wrapped its icy tendrils around our hearts. We were trapped, ensnared within the clutches of Isolation House, its true nature finally revealing itself. As the echoes of the slamming door faded into a haunting silence, we exchanged fearful glances, realizing the gravity of our predicament. The confinement of the basement seemed to amplify the weight of the house's malevolence, and an unsettling realization settled upon us. We were not alone. Whispers, barely audible yet unmistakably present, slithered through the air, intertwining with the oppressive stillness. They seemed to emerge from the very walls, echoing with an eerie resonance. Our flashlights trembled in our hands as we clung to them, our only source of comfort and protection against the encroaching darkness. Together we ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of Isolation House, each step intensifying our unease. The walls seemed to pulsate with a sinister energy, as if the house itself were alive, feeding off our mounting fear. Shadows danced and contorted, casting elongated figures upon the peeling wallpaper, mimicking our movements in a grotesque mockery. In the chilling depths of Isolation House, we became unwitting players in a macabre symphony. Each room we entered held its own twisted nightmare, designed to exploit our deepest vulnerabilities. David found himself trapped in a room engulfed by a suffocating claustrophobia, the walls closing in as his breath grew shallow. Sarah stumbled upon a room plunged into an eternal darkness, where the absence of light seemed to devour hope itself. Mark, Lisa, and Emily faced a room consumed by an ever-shifting maze, confounding their attempts to find an escape route. Fear gnawed at our resolve, threatening to tear us apart both physically and emotionally. Yet through the haze of terror, a glimmer of determination ignited within each of us. We clung to our camaraderie, knowing that our strength lay in unity. With trembling hands and racing hearts, we joined forces, our collective will a shield against the horrors that sought to claim us. Through relentless persistence, we began to unravel the house's nightmarish grip. Together, we broke through the barriers that held us captive, emerging from our individual nightmares and reuniting in a shared space where the oppressive darkness began to recede. As we stumbled out of the basement and into the pale light of dawn, the air outside Isolation House tasted sweeter, as if the very world itself rejoiced in our deliverance. We clung to one another, our faces marked with the indelible imprint of our harrowing journey. The house loomed behind us, a relic of our shared nightmare, its presence forever etched into our memories. In the aftermath of that fateful night, we made a solemn pact to never speak of our ordeal, to bury it deep within the recesses of our minds. But the scars, both seen and unseen, remained. Isolation House had taught us the harrowing truth that isolation, both physical and emotional, can unravel the fabric of our reality, exposing the depths of terror that lie within. And so we returned to a world still grappling with the lingering effects of lockdowns, forever haunted by the chilling reminder that the true horrors of isolation are not confined to the realm of the supernatural, but rather they can manifest within the darkest recesses of our own souls. As we dispersed, each of us carried a piece of isolation house within us, a constant reminder of the strength we found in unity and the resilience we discovered in the face of unimaginable terror. And though we vowed never to set foot in that accursed house again, its ghostly whispers lingered, forever etched into our collective consciousness, a testament to the unnerving power of isolation and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to confront it. Story number 3. The Darkened Halls. I will never forget that fateful Tuesday morning, etched into my memory with vivid clarity. I was a young and naive soul unknowing of the dangers lurking in this world. I was new to the college scene, and it was on that fateful day that the usually bustling college campus, alive with the energetic footsteps and lively conversations of students, had been transformed into an unsettling realm of stillness. The uncomfortable and painful feeling in my gut sent shivers down my spine, an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. Whispers had been circulating for days, murmurs of an impending lockdown, but none of us were prepared for the unfolding events that would soon grip us all. A sense of unease settled upon the students, spreading like wildfire as news of the imminent lockdown reached every corner of the campus. Panic ensued, and we hurriedly sought refuge in our classrooms, seeking solace within the familiar walls that had once been our sanctuary. Little did we know that those very walls would soon become our prison, trapping us in a world of uncertainty and fear. Huddled together within the classrooms, we felt the atmosphere grow increasingly tense. The outside world seemed to fade away, swallowed by an ominous darkness that enveloped us. A thick, suffocating silence settled upon us, mirroring the fear reflected in the eyes of our fellow peers. The passing of time was marked by the agonizing tick of the clock, each passing moment heightening the trepidation that gnawed at our minds. As the hours stretched on, the vibrant sunlight that once flooded through the windows began to wane, casting elongated shadows that danced eerily across the walls. The once reliable fluorescent lights in the hallways flickered intermittently, their wavering glow offering mere glimpses into the encroaching abyss. With each passing minute, the darkness outside deepened, mirroring the sinister occurrences that began to unravel within the confines of the college. Strange and barely audible sounds whispered through the deserted hallways, elusive murmurs that seemed to emanate from hidden corners and secret crevices. The very air seemed to crackle with an unsettling energy, causing the hairs on the back of my neck to stand on end. I strained my senses, trying to discern the origin of these haunting whispers, but their elusive nature only heightened the growing sense of foreboding that loomed over us. It wasn't long before students began to vanish without a trace, disappearing into thin air as if swallowed by the unforgiving darkness. Driven by desperation for answers or an irrational hope for escape, they would venture out of their barricaded classrooms, only to be consumed by the shadows. The silence that followed their disappearances was deafening, leaving us frozen in a state of terror and despair. Days blurred into weeks, and we found ourselves trapped within a nightmarish existence. Hunger gnawed at our stomachs, and thirst parched our throats. The realm of sleep became a distant memory, our bodies frail and our nerves frayed. Despair loomed over us like an insurmountable mountain, threatening to crush what little hope remained within our weary souls. Amidst the confinement of our classrooms, the fraying threads of reality slipped from the grasp of some, succumbing to the ever-present darkness that loomed over our minds. Their vacant eyes, hollow and devoid of life, haunted the rest of us, a stark reminder of the fragility of the human psyche. Yet, amidst the encroaching madness, a small group of us clung desperately to the flickering flame of survival, determined to confront the horrors that lurked within the shadows. During the endless nights, when the world beyond our confinement was plunged into the abyss of darkness, we forged a plan. Armed with makeshift weapons crafted from the limited supplies within our classrooms, we mustered our courage and ventured into the heart of the college. Our mission was clear: to uncover the truth behind the macabre disappearances that plagued us, and to confront the malevolence that had imprisoned us within these walls. As we navigated the labyrinthine corridors, we discovered hidden rooms, long forgotten by the passage of time. Each doorway we crossed held the promise of answers, or perhaps something far more sinister. Dust-covered textbooks and abandoned projects whispered tales of past lives, while others bore witness to a malevolent presence that seemed to seep into the very fabric of our surroundings. The atmosphere grew increasingly suffocating, thick with an otherworldly malevolence that seemed to permeate our very souls. Every step we took felt like trespassing into a realm of darkness and despair, the beating of our hearts the only audible sound. betraying our presence to an unknown adversary lurking within the shadows. And then, deep within the depths of the basement, we stumbled upon it, a hidden chamber concealed behind a rusted, ominous door. As we cautiously crossed the threshold, the room exuded a tangible malevolence, its aura heavy with dread. Our trembling flashlights cast eerie shadows on the walls, revealing a grotesque sight that would forever be seared into our minds. Photographs of the missing students adorned the wall, their eyes crossed out with crimson ink, symbolically marking their tragic fate. Each image represented a life extinguished, a soul lost to the darkness that had consumed our college. The chilling realization washed over us like an icy wave. There was a malevolent force at play, a sinister figure orchestrating our torment. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the stillness, ripping us from our horrified trance. We turned, our hearts pounding, only to witness a figure shrouded in darkness standing amidst the shadows. An aura of malice exuded from their presence, their eyes burning with a madness that sent shivers down our spines. It was the antagonist, the twisted orchestrator of our torment, standing before us. Thus began a chaotic chase, a desperate flight from our tormentor. Their manic laughter echoed through the hallways as they reveled in the cat-and-mouse game, setting traps and lurking within plain sight, toying with us like pawns in their sadistic game. We ran, our footsteps echoing with fear, desperately seeking an escape from the nightmare that had consumed us. Finally, battered and bruised, we reached the main entrance, our bodies and spirits broken. The world outside had transformed, the sun casting its warm rays upon a scene filled with police cars, concerned parents, and a palpable sense of relief tinged with lingering terror. The lockdown had been lifted, but the scars we bore were not so easily healed. We had faced a darkness that lurked within the hearts of men, a malevolence that threatened to consume us all. The memory of those darkened halls would forever haunt our dreams, serving as a chilling reminder of the fragility of our existence and the horrors that lie hidden beneath the surface.